Hey, what's up you guys, CustomMadeGrafix here and welcome back to another video. This is another episode of Tutorial Tuesday, and what we're going over today is something that's been requested quite a bit, most recently by Evan Almighty, so shout out to you mate. He came up with this tutorial idea and I thought I might as well do it. I haven't really thought of anything else this week. It's my birthday today, so something that I know quite well and can get to grips with pretty easy in a tutorial and just show you guys without having to put too much effort in. That does make me sound pretty lazy, but I'm sure you'll all forgive me. So what I'm going to show you guys is these two that I've done recently. This is a text manipulation type of logo, otherwise known as a logo type. And this is for XL13, and I have another one here which was done for the Venom Music Network. Now both of these are made using the same font, which was Cafe Nero MS, and that's the font I'm going to be using in this tutorial. I'll put a link to it in the description so you can go ahead and download it. But what I'll also be putting in the description of this video is a link to this pack here, which was done by, I believe it was Supremo Arts. He recently closed his channel. Well, I say recently, it was about 6 months ago I do believe. He closed his channel down, but I've still got his graphics pack and this was included. So in this folder we've got how many? I don't know, we've got quite a lot basically though of different fonts that are all great for using with logos and great for this sort of style of creating logos. So I'm going to go ahead into Photoshop and open myself up a new document. With these, what I'd say to do was go with a 1920 by 1080 pixels. That gives you a pretty big canvas to work with and also lets you create the logo in a pretty decent size. That way it can be resized really easily, etc, etc. And I don't have Illustrator at the moment. I am working on finding a way to get Illustrator. And hopefully I'll be able to start some work with that. It does seem pretty interesting. I've been seeing a couple of tutorials on it, so I'll probably try and get that sorted pretty soon. But anyway, what I'm going to go do here is open up my type tool, and this is loaded up quicker than usual, and I've got a load of fonts installed, so it does usually lag quite a bit. I know I notice it a lot in my own speed arts when I go to put fonts on stuff. So as I said, we're going to be using the font which is called Cafe Nero M54, not MS4 like I thought it was. And what we're going to write, I need to think of something. Do you know what, I'm just going to go with the Venom logo again. Better change my font colour to black. There we go. And then I'm just going to resize this so it takes up a fair bit of the page, so we've got enough room. Oh, I messed up my words slightly there. So we've basically just got enough room to work with. What I'm then going to do is I'm going to go right click my text layer and hit rasterize type. Now this doesn't create Rastafarian hats and dreadlocks all over your text, but what it does is it makes it into a sort of editable layer, which is a lot easier to work with. Just put my feather down to 0 there. And what we're going to do is we're going to go select each letter individually and hit Ctrl, Shift and J. And what that does is it separates it from the original layer and pastes it onto a new one. So you see now I can move it around separately without having to worry about any of the other letters. So I'm going to go ahead and do this with the rest of the letters real quick. So we've got our E, we've got the N, the O, and the M doesn't really matter because it'll already be on its separate layer once you've separated all the rest of them. And now what I'd say to do for all these is just for the pure sort of ease of process, go and rename all these layers. So that is the V layer, you've got the E, the N, O, and then the M. And what that does is it makes it a lot easier to work with. It's a lot easier to sort of organise which letters you're about to be clicking and editing. So yeah, that's all good there. So what I'm going to do is your best idea is to sort of know the font you're working with, have a few tries with it, have a few practices, and know what sort of things you're going to be looking for. So I decided with this one, when I was creating the logo, I wanted to go for a sort of, I wanted to have the E, N, O and M under a sort of platform created by the V. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and resize the V here, make it slightly bigger than the rest, and there we go. And now what I'm going to do is go ahead and just create a rectangle using the rectangle tool and pull it all the way along to the end. We probably won't need it this long, but it will do for just now. I'm just going to remove the layer style and also rasterize that. Okay, what we could do with doing is make sure it's all lined up nicely, there's no kinks in it. So I think that just needs to be brought down a little bit. And there we go, that looks good. I could probably do with it being a little bit thicker, that way it matches the, I'm trying to point at my screen here, that way it doesn't look out of place with the rest of the V really, that's what we're looking for. So that looks pretty good, it looks in line, it looks the same size, and it looks like it could have always been there. So what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to group that with the V, there we go, so now we can move that around as we would like. And next up we're going to work with the E. Excuse my throat. So with this, what we want to do is we want to create a sort of theme that's going to be going throughout the text. So what I like to do is I like to have maybe bits of my text cut off, I like to have little gaps in between them. So basically they look like they could be joined together, but they're also separated so we can actually read what's going on. So I'm going to move this slightly into the V. I think about there will do. What we're then going to do is hit the Control key and click on the V layer. Now you'll notice that E is still selected and that's what we want. We're going to go ahead and hit the delete key, and what that'll do is it will delete every bit of the E layer that was underneath the V. So then what we can do is move it away like this and you'll see we've got the perfect slant going in line with the V. So that looks pretty good like that. What we've next got is we've got the N. I'm not too sure what I did with the N before, let me just find this. Venom. Okay, I see. So you see what we've done here is we extended the bottom of the E out and we sort of formed the N around the E and the O. So I'm going to go ahead and recreate that now. So we're going to go back to our E layer, select the rectangular marquee tool, select part of the bottom of the E just like that and hit Control T. We're going to go ahead and hit Shift and just drag that out. It doesn't need to be too long, but it doesn't really matter at the moment. Just put that to about there for now. Hit the Enter key and then Control D and that'll deselect the part of the E that you selected. We're going to go ahead and then get the N and holding Shift again, that way it keeps it in line. It's pretty rigid and it snaps back into its original position. We're going to move that along. Now what we want to do is, if we're going to be using gaps in between our text, we want to try and make sure they're all about the same size so it doesn't look too out of place. Now how I've done it with these so far is from the edge where it was connected up, I've just held the Shift key and hit the right button once, and what that'll do is if I keep that theme going throughout the whole piece, that'll make sure that my my gaps will be exactly the same size as well. So we've got that in position lined up there. What we're then going to do is we're going to hit Shift and hit the down key once, and we're going to go back to our E just real quick and just resize the bottom bit so it's not taking any. In fact, I think it needs to, doesn't it? No. So yeah, we're going to go and resize that so it's just out of the way of the bottom of the N there. And we're going to go back to our N and hold Shift and hit the down key. What we're then going to do is hold Control once again and select the E layer. You can see we've got the little dashed pattern going around, and then making sure we've still got the N layer selected in our layers panel, hit the delete key once again. If we carry on doing that and then hit Shift and up once more, then you see we've got our perfect pattern again just there. Now you'll see with this logo down here, what I did was the bottom bit that I extended on the E, I actually made fit with the pattern of the N as well. So we're going to go ahead and recreate that. So we're going to select the bottom of the E once again and go ahead and just bring it out so it's past the N. Then what we want to do is we want to hold shift and bring it to the right one space. Hold control and select the N again, and then just hit delete. Now when we bring it back one, you'll see that we have a nice little gap. So we can go ahead and probably best off using the pen tool for this bit. That way you don't cut off any bits that you don't want to delete. There we go. And also we're just going to go ahead and fill this little bit in here with a black square. Rasterize that and join it with the E and rename our layer again if we need to. So you see there, that's what we've got going on. The E and the N is now looking pretty good together. Now what I did with the O was I sort of split it in half and extended the top and extended the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So we're going to go and drag the O again, holding shift key so it stays about on the same lines. Bring it over. I'm going to get the rectangular marquee tool and just select a little square out of this top bit and hit the delete key. And then I'm going to drag that down here, making sure it's about the same size, and hit it again. So there you go, you see we've got it in two halves. Now we're going to use the rectangular marquee tool to select part of the top of the O, hit Command T, and that'll let us resize this all the way along here. Again, what we're going to do is we're just going to push it to about halfway through the end just for now, whilst we get this first bit sorted. We're going to go back to the N layer and hold shift and click up once on your directional keys. We're then going to go and select the O layer using control. We're going to hit delete, control D to deselect. Make sure we've still got the N layer selected, and hit shift and down again. And then what you got is you got the nice little one sort of spacing, the one shift push space, I guess you could call it, and that's fine like that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and resize this the rest of the way over the top of the N. So what we're going to do, again using the N is going to be like the sculpture for this letter. We're going to hit shift and move it across to the right. I'm going to do exactly the same as we did before. Control and click our O layer. That'll make a selection. And making sure we've still got the N layer selected, we're going to hit delete. And then, nope, I've done that one wrong. We wanted to select the N layer and make sure we've got the O layer selected. There we go. And then if we hit delete and we hold shift and move it back to the right, you see we've got that other gap. Now what we can do is we can go ahead and use the pen tool again and just get rid of this unwanted box. Just like that. Make selection, enter, and we can delete that there. Also, again, if you need to, you can just go ahead and fill in any white bits that might have been deleted, anything like that. Oops. What I'll do is I'll just use a rectangle to fill this in. Like that. That'll do. Rasterize that. And there you go, you see the O and the N is taking shape. Now what we don't want is, you'll see down here we've got this big gap. We're not going to be wanting that. So we're going to go ahead and select the inside of this, hit Command T, and just move it along so we've got about the same sizing as everything else. What we're then going to do is want to make sure that it's in line with the top of the N here. So we're going to go and select the O once again, using the regular marquee tool or the rectangular marquee tool, and mess that up a little bit. Hit Control T, hold Shift and just drag it up until it's about in line. In fact, you can drag it up a little higher, and using the rectangular marquee tool you can then use that to ensure that you've got it dead right. So there we go, that's looking pretty nice. Then what we're going to do is, using the O again, this time we're going to be changing the M. So we're going to go ahead and select the bottom, hit Control T so you get the tool box that comes around it so you can edit it, and we're going to pull this right out just for the moment to about there. Now remember guys, you won't be creating this specific logo, you'll want to be creating your own. What I'm hoping you learn from this tutorial is a few tips and tricks that will help you use these techniques and make your own styles. Because obviously I can't just create a logo and expect you all to want to use that logo. That's the problem that everybody has when people ask them to do logo tutorials. This is plainly just tips and tricks. Hopefully you pick something up that you can use. So anyway, we've got the final little bit with the M here. I just need to resize the bottom of this O again. Oops. In fact, we can just delete that there. And all that I did with the M for this is sort of put the first prong, I guess you could call it. I just made that cut out by the O. Oops. Okay, there we go. So we're going to select our M, make sure it's up decent and close. Then what we're going to do is, hang on a minute because this is just slightly too far across again. Oops. I hit the wrong layer. There we go. And using the M we're going to hit Shift and down. Hold Control and select the O. And making sure we've still got the M layer selected, we're going to hit the delete key and we're going to hit Shift and up. And you'll see again that's created our nice little gap. It's slightly off with the size of the O bit that's coming down, so what we're going to do is we're going to drag that down and then use the marquee tool to make sure that we delete it so that they are this same size. I always do that. I hit the end key and it takes me right down to the bottom corner of my document. Delete and delete. Yeah, there we go. So those are both now exactly the same size, and what we can then do is go back to the O and just drag it out a little bit more. So there we go, that's looking good. I'm going to resize this. In fact, no, I'm not. I'm going to resize the rest of these so they match up with the rest of the V and the logo. There we go, and I just need to fill in this little bit of blank space in down here. There we go. So you see, there we go. And then what you can do is you can just add up your finishing touches. So what I did was with this M, this isn't a direct diagonal, so you can't just hit Shift and click because that's your direct diagonal. You've got to sort of follow the pattern. So I'm going to go ahead and select it with using the pen tool down here. I'm going to go select it at the top, and then we're going to try and continue that line. It might take you a few tries and a few guesses. Make sure you're not on that layer, that would help. So basically we're just going to get it to line up with the pattern of the M, and that's about right. I'm going to go ahead and select this bit, right click, make selection, go back to the V and cut that off. That way we've got a slant at the top of the V that directly matches up with the M there. And there we go, we've got a pretty nice sort of text manipulated style of logo. I hope this guys helps you out. Again, you won't be creating this exact logo, I know that, but hopefully what you've learned through this video is a few different tips and tools that you can use when creating your own logo types that sort of in this style. So don't forget, I'll leave the link to the font pack down below. Go check some of those fonts out, they are ridiculously good for creating logos, really. Big thank you to Supremo Arts. I know he doesn't have a channel anymore, otherwise I would link it in the description, but he was a great guy, yeah, there's not much else I can say really. I didn't speak to him that much. But yeah, that's about it guys. Thanks for watching and I'll see you next time. Peace.